WTBQ.
And good afternoon, everybody. Dan Castricone here on WTBQ, 1110 AM, 93.5 FM, and as always, streaming live at WTBQ.com. Have a special show today, a terrific guest. We've promoted a little bit over the last week. It's going to be Dr. Michael Nuccitelli. Now, Dr. Nuccitelli is a New York State licensed psychologist, a certified forensic consultant, a cyberbullying, internet safety, cybercrime, online predator, and cybercriminal psychology educator and investigator. That's a mouthful. What I really think Dr. Nuccitelli is really good at is kind of explaining what makes these online psychopaths tick. So we're going to welcome Dr. Nuccitelli to the show. I think he's out there on the phone. Doctor, are you there?
Yes. Happy Thursday, Mr. Castricone,
hey.
to you and your listeners.
Thank you
for having me on.
Thank you very much. Now, I know, Doctor, that you've been working on this for a while, recently made some presentations to some of the state medical associations, but I know that there are some folks that have been supporting your efforts that you want to thank publicly on the air. So why don't we just do that, and then we'll dive in.
Oh, thank you, sir. Well, I first want to say thank you, and I'm sure they're going to bark at me for thanking them, but I'm honored. I want to say thank you, and since this is local, and please, for folks in the Hudson Valley to visit, and this is not a paid endorsement. As I said, they're going to bark at me if they listen to this, but I want to say thank you to Florries. The Florries is 4 Deli's convenience stores here on this side of the Hudson River. And they have been incredibly supportive for the last 2 years in relationship to online child safety, and most importantly, which is a typology of predator, is cyberbullying. So, and not only that, so I want to say thank you to Mr. and Mrs. Flory, and also to their 2 sons, Jamie and Jerry Flory, and then Paul De Palma, who is one of their primary team members. And what's great about them, if you go to their website, florycore.com, they were kind enough 2 years ago to publish cyberbullying tactics. And it's just nice to know that there are folks here in the Hudson Valley that are willing to educate the community, particularly children and parents, about what I call the dark side of cyberspace. And last thing to plug them, they make the greatest macaroni and cheese and fried chicken this side of Kentucky Fried Chicken. So thank you, Flores.
All right. Now, Doctor, when I was serving in the Orange County Legislature, I tried to get passed some county legislation to counter cyberbullying. I was working with a family who had actually lost a child to suicide based on what had happened to them online, and it was incredibly frustrating. The law enforcement community doesn't seem to be quite caught up to the Wild West that is the internet. What are your thoughts on what you see government trying to accomplish in protecting our kids from this cyberbullying? Well,
and first understand, Dan, is that I am pro-American. I'm very patriotic. But as society in general, and I say this all the time, is that we almost act as if we live in 1983. Now, 1983 supposedly is when the information age began. So first thing for your listeners is to understand is if you look over history, you've had, the Industrial Age, the Stone Age, the Bronze Age. Well, we are in the information age, and we are at the beginning of the information age. So not to defend law enforcement, the court systems, politicians, but we still act as if we live in a pre-information age world. And oftentimes I get, well, what do you want us to do, Dr. Nucc? Turn off the internet? And my retort always is, well, of course not. I love the internet. But what I'm asking folks to do is to be a little bit careful and to be a little bit cautious when it comes to not only protecting yourself and your business, but your kids. So in relationship to cyberbullying, the key is prevention education. If we could one day get it in the schools to teach kids about how to conduct oneself in cyberspace, well, I've done my job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was, and you're treading on dangerous ground. I mean, I attempted to help that family, by moving forward their cause and helping to try to prevent this from happening again. And someone else in the family ended up committing suicide while we were in the middle of it.
It's truly unfortunate. And, for your listeners, if you Google the term, if in fact the child was cyberbullied, well, the term for it is cyberbullycide. And, what we're seeing is that this is not only increasing, not just within the United States, but for all industrialized nations. Because when you think about it, Dan, I mean, now I'm 52. So when I was a child, I was surrounded by, we were just introduced to CBs, the little black beepers. I don't know if your listeners remember those. You used to put them on your belt. Those were really cool. And some folks in the area had ham radios, all right? So we really didn't have technology. Today, and the children, the information age child, which I believe, and please understand for your listeners, everything I've written and authored is theoretical. It hasn't been proven yet. But what I believe is today's kids are so enveloped by social media and the internet and their mobile devices that it actually contributes to their identity development, which is part of adolescence. And so when we're looking at cyberbullying, and even most importantly, the area which we can talk about is online child predators and online child pornography, when I say there is the dark side of cyberspace, I'm not hyperbolizing. It really does exist.
Yeah, and you're right. I remember when, when I was a kid, and I'm about your age, we got into a fight in school, or there was an issue in school. We got to go home and, be with people that cared about us and had a different set of friends on the block. And we got to escape. These kids, they're so tied up in their technology that it gets them at school and it follows them home and it follows them to bed at night. I don't know where they ever get a respite.
Well, it's important for the listeners to know is that, and again, when I was a child, and I still remember my bully, when I had the crap beat out of me, I could leave the school, I could leave the ball field and go home to my family, my neighborhood, and my friends. Okay? Today, in the information age, it literally is for the cyber-bullied child 24/7, 365. Now, when I have trolls and other folks, the detractors of what I'm trying to educate, what they'll say is, well, why don't they just grow up, is stand up and pull up your book. What they don't understand is that when a child is cyberbullied, they are targeted nonstop. So whether it's summer vacation, holidays, the weekends, today's children, if they are targeted, they are mercifully targeted. And the thing is, with social media, it's not just, we talk about, it's not just the kids in the group in schools that know about it. It's now everybody.
Yeah.
Particularly when we look at like Instagram and Kik and Snapchat and all these wonderful mobile device technologies, kids are really being brutalized.
Why don't we stop here for the first quarter turn, Dr. Nuccitelli, and when we come back, we'll talk about some of the people that do the bullying, okay? Folks, we'll be right back on WTBQ. Dan Castricone with Dr. Michael Nuccitelli.
159 years ago, my great-great-grandfather at the age of 19 purchased a 30-year-old furniture and funeral business. 34 years ago, at the age of 25, I started managing the furniture business. Today, my son Peter, at the age of 31, is fully involved in our business and influencing many changes to our furniture offerings. Hi, this is Keith Millspaugh of Millspaugh Furniture of Walden, Warwick, and Poughkeepsie, where we are connected to the past and bringing on the future with a contemporary mix of old and new styles. Come see our changes as we celebrate our 159th anniversary sale with many factory-authorized discounts. We're still non-disposable solid wooden upholstery along with two-sided flippable mattresses that set us apart, along with our goal of providing you with 10 years of showroom comfort. Come take advantage of our anniversary sale and enjoy special order savings on non-disposable comfort and style that brings you the best values for less. That's Millspaugh Furniture, offering non-disposable furniture and mattresses since 1858.
The law firm of Beatty & Krahulik, founded in 1872, provides sophisticated legal services to businesses and individuals throughout the Orange County area. As the oldest law firm in Orange County, the firm has developed a reputation of providing the highest quality client service. This is attorney Bob Krahulik, the lawyer guy here on WTBQ Radio. Call for a free consultation at 986-1155. That's 986-1155 at hudsonvalleylaw.us.
Hey, this is Zach Kruk. I'll be talking sports with my buddy Jim LaPlante this Saturday morning at 10 a.m. on TBQ. Baseball season's finally here. We'll talk about what's in store for the Mets and Yankees. NBA and NHL playoffs are right around the corner. We'll discuss who's got the best shot to take home a championship. And of course, NASCAR kicking into high gear. So tune in, forget about the politics for a while, and have some fun with Jim and I. That's this Saturday morning at 10 right here on WTBQ, radio worth listening to.
If you missed the Frank Truett Show, here's what you missed.
I'm talking to you, Taylor.
Oh.
Why do you want something that's just like a beast?
I've had a Jeep since 1994, and I'm used to sitting up high.
Why don't you buy a clown car? You can sit up on the roof and drive the thing.
I have a clown to drive with.
The Frank Truett Show, weekday mornings till 9 on WTBQ.
And we're back. Dan Castricone here with Dr. Nuccitelli on WTBQ, 1110 AM, 93.5 FM, and streaming live at WTBQ.com. So, Doctor, before we took the break, we were talking a little bit about the issues that kids face, the seriousness of some of the cyberbullying. Talk to me about who does this.
Goodness, Mr. Castro, that would be 3 shows just to discuss that. Let me just say that, and first for your listeners, is that the website iPredator is now been, I've had it up for 3 years plus, and everything at the site is free to download, to share. You don't have to attribute me. Everything is public domain. So any images you see, anything I've written, it's all free. So if you want to rewrite it, rename it, it's certainly up to you. And all I ask is that you help educate your community about Internet safety and how to protect oneself in cyberspace. But iPredator is a global concept, and it applies not only to children, but to adults. And it's made up of 8 typologies, and I'll say them very quickly: cyberbullying, cyber harassment, cyber stalking, cybercrime, internet trolls, cyber terrorism, online predators, and to me, the most, the worst of the worst is online child pornography. Right. So iPredator is a global concept, which I kind of say is the dark side of cyberspace. So if you go to the website, you are more than welcome to peruse and to learn about how to protect yourself. But getting back to iPredator and trying to help your listeners, particularly for children, okay, we will talk. The danger for today's kids is cyberbullying and then online child predators. Mm-hmm. Online child predators. So, for instance, there is the hacktivist group. Many of you have heard of them, called Anonymous. Sure. Those are the men and women from all over the world. They get a bad rap. They're the ones with the Guy Fawkes mask. But essentially, they do a wonderful service to cyberspace. Because what they do is they go out, as well as our volunteers, they go out and target online child porn merchants and online child predators. So it's very important for parents to be, to work closely with their kids, because nowadays what's happening, what I can do if I'm an online child predator, Well, what I'll do, because you guys are Orange County, well, you know what, Dan? I am a sophomore, and I go to Minnesink High School, and I have a Facebook and Instagram profile. You go there, and I have a picture of me. I'm a freshman, and I'm now looking to ask your daughter to go out and meet somewhere, all right? In reality, I'm a 42-year-old pedophile, and I'm looking to target your child. So this is the way cyberspace is evolving.
Yeah.
And again, I hear over and over, what do you want us to do, Dr. Nuccitelli? Turn off the Internet. Well, the harsh reality is, when I first wrote iPredator, I would get 2 or 3 phone calls every couple of weeks. Well, now that we're 5-6 years into, I now get 6 to 10 contacts weekly. And these are all free consultations, which has put me in the poorhouse. But the reality is that the dark side of cyberspace is only getting worse, and we as a country don't do anything about it.
I can't think of a more important thing than to be aware of where your kids are going online and who they're talking to. But obviously, as they get older, you lose more and more control of the situation. I certainly don't know. I have a daughter who's a junior in high school. I certainly don't know where she's going, when she goes online. My younger kid, I have much more of an idea at where he's going, but it's hard. It's very difficult to keep track of this and where they are. Doctor, I heard a click on the line. Are you still out there?
Oh, yes, I am.
Oh, okay, good. All right.
And
so let's...
Do we still got a minute or two before we go to break?
Yeah, we got 8 minutes before we break.
Okay, so for adults, because I love to cover, from child to adults, for the adult listeners, for business owners, for today's adults and going forward, obviously cybercrime, which is a typology of iPredator, is something that needs to be worried about because it involves the pocketbook and money. Mm-hmm. But what we're now seeing more and more, and as you see in 2006, 17 with all the politics, for adults that are professionals with businesses, is we now have to worry about what can be called fake news, disinformation, however you want to define it, character assassination, reputation management attacks, so forth and so on. I could go on and on. But today's professionals and adults have to be careful. And my advice to your listeners, 2 words, due diligence. And I'm going to try not to use profanity in my New York language, but they are called Internet trolls. Now, Internet trolls used to be folks that would go online just to incite and provoke to get you angry. Well, they have now evolved, and you can read on the website, I wrote the definition in mid-2016 called predatory trolls. Now, these are people, not only single or as groups, they actively go out and, for instance, Dan, they not only target you, Dan, they target you, your business, your affiliations, your loved ones, your kids, and on and on and on. And what they're doing is they are literally trying to decimate your trustworthiness, your integrity, and your reputation. And what we're seeing more and more, it really does cost people money and their careers. So that is really serious stuff for people that are trying to make ends meet.
Well, I'm in my 50s, and I can count, all of the time that I have spent trying to make people feel bad about themselves since I'd say since the 3rd grade. With no fingers. I haven't spent a minute of my life trying to do that. Yet these, what did you call them? Predatory trolls?
Predatory trolls, yes.
Yeah. They spend hours and hours. What drives, what's going on inside these people's heads? I don't understand it.
And I apologize to laugh. It's just that I laugh because, the way I look at internet trolls, predatory trolls, as pathetic, because what you just said, Dan, is how much time, money, effort do they have to be able to do this? I mean, that is one thing. And then the next thing that we look at, in 2014, the University of Manitoba came out with a huge study, and what they found is that internet trolls were at much higher rates, listen to this, listeners, of having traits of being psychopathic, narcissistic, sadistic, and Machiavellian personality traits. So when you ask the whys, well, some of them are psychopaths, some of them are narcissists, some of them enjoy humiliating and exploiting you. That is the sadistic element. And then there's others that the ends justify the means. That is the Machiavellian aspect, to where I'm going to take you down because it serves a purpose.
What happens? What happens in the private lives of people like that? I would think if you're going to be a narcissist and a sadist and a psychopath, that you're going to have trouble in relationships. And is that what drives them to the online world? Is that they have trouble maintaining relationships in the real world?
Excellent question. It's almost like I sent you a market. One of for those that do go to the website, is I want you to read ODER. Okay, that is the acronym. Offline distress dictates online response, and that is a subconstruct of iPredator. And essentially, in a nutshell, is what it means is that the way my offline life is, and again, this is theoretical, hopefully it's proven someday, is the way my offline life is, whether I'm happy, sad, psychiatric, mean, alcohol, whatever it may be, directly influences what I do in cyberspace. It not only influences my interpretation of what I do in cyberspace, but it has everything. When we look at information, there are only three ways to deal with information. We can compile it, we can distribute it, and we can exchange it. And what do we live in? The information age. And now, when we're looking at cyber terrorism, I'm now saying, I may sound crazy, is that a day will come where information will become lethal. And we're starting to just learn about this when it comes to cyber terrorism. So really, my offline life directly affects what I'm going to do in cyberspace. So are some of these people psychopaths? Some of them are, very small, but not all. A lot of adults and children, what they do is they will cyber attack others for past indiscretions, for retribution, okay, to get back at somebody. And when you think about it, though, it's awfully cowardly, because I have been trolled in cyber attack since I wrote iPredator. But for me, Dan, it justifies and validates my theories. So when I get called out, I'm not going to go into this troll, who actually, put out in cyberspace with images that I supported pedophilia. Now, mind you, in my past life, I was in my private practices and as a psychologist, I specialized working with kids and teenagers and families. But for me, when people target and attack me, it supports my theories. But for you, the mom and pop, the local business, it can literally lead to them losing not only their career, but their business. Yeah. So the key is understanding for all online users, okay, is believe nothing. Believe nothing and due diligence.
All right. Doctor, we've reached the halfway point in the show. We're going to take a break now. We'll actually see what Rachel Ray is going to make us for lunch, and I hope you can hold on. And folks, we'll be right back on WTBQ.
a quick and easy pasta with cherry tomato marinara. From the kitchen table in New York City, I'm Rachel Ray, and this is Rach on the radio. It's a delicious spring pasta dish. Couple turns of the pan of olive oil. We're gonna drop in all of our fresh cherry tomatoes. We've got yellow and red. Whee! Nice hot skillet over medium-high heat, guys. What we're gonna do now is season this up with a little crushed red pepper flake, salt, of course, a little bit of oregano, lightly crushed in the palm of our hand, your basic building blocks from marinara, and then we're going to slice some garlic right into the pan. It's so easy. It's so easy. At the end, we'll tear in some basil, and we're going to toss it with some pasta. It's as simple as that. For this recipe and more food tips, go to RachelRayShow.com. Tomorrow, turkey burgers with mashed potatoes and gravy on top. From the kitchen table in New York City, I'm Rachel Ray.
Another breakout? Today? Really? Oh, it's not that bad, they say. I can barely see it. But yeah, right. Get real. It's time for this to end. Thanks to my new Biore Charcoal Acne Scrub with natural charcoal, I can fight even the most annoying breakouts. How? It scrubs out acne causing dirt and oil for clearer skin in 2 days. So peace out, pesky pimples. With Biore, I've finally found the skin of my dreams.
Biore. Free your pores.
Allergy sufferers, my name's Nigel, and as a well-educated owl, I know the difference between what's wise and unwise. Texting after 3 glasses of Merlot? Unwise. Using new Zysol for 24-hour relief of your allergy symptoms? Quite wise, because Zysol is just as effective at hour 24 as it is at hour 1, relieving your symptoms for a better night's sleep and a more productive day. So for continuous 24-hour allergy relief, don't be unwise. Be wise all. Take new Zysol. Use as directed.
This is Zach Kruk of WTBQ Radio. Keep up to date with all your local news every weekday on the Frank Truett Morning Show, right here on WTBQ. Radio worth listening to.
WTBQ weather.
This afternoon we'll have periods of rain out there, and a flood watch is in effect. Now, some of that rain could be heavy with highs 45 to 50. Now, the rain ends early tonight, then some lingering showers, 40 to 45 for a low. It's in the upper 40s for Friday. It'll be cloudy and cool, breezy at times, a couple of sprinkles and showers in the afternoon, then mostly sunny on Saturday, 50 to 55. From the WTBQ Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Mike Mahalik.
WTBQ.
And Dan Castricone back on WTBQ, 1110 AM, 93.5 FM. And as always, streaming live at WTBQ.com. On the phone with me is Dr. Michael Nuccitelli. He's a cyber crime, cyber troll, cyber anything and everything expert when it comes to the psychology of the dark web. We are accepting phone calls. If you have an issue, something you want to talk with the doctor about, the phone number here is 651-1110. So we welcome a call if you're having an issue, if your child is being bullied. Maybe this is something that you want to give us a call. Doctor, so are you still there?
I am still here.
All right, terrific. So we were talking a little bit about the psychology of some of these predatory cyber trolls. And you mentioned Machiavellian and sadistic and narcissistic, and I get the impression that these guys are going to be very pleased with themselves if you call them Machiavellian.
Well, it depends on. I mean, obviously, the prince may. I mean, it depends on how you look at it. I mean, Machiavellian can be seen as a very constructive attribute. But in relationship to what the University of Manitoba found was quite the opposite. Getting back to iPredator, it is understanding there is iPredator, which I am those eight typologies, but the motivation and the drive is for personal and financial gain, all right? Then you also have, which is a subconstruct of iPredator, it's called iPredator Bridge. And these are people that become iPredators, but from an ideological standpoint, in their mind and in their hearts, they're doing it. They're targeting you, your business, your religion, your cause, whatever it may be. They're targeting you because they feel self-righteous. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't make them any less culpable. Because when you use cyberspace to hurt, taunt, exploit, and manipulate others, it's wrong. And what we're seeing more and more, thank God, it's becoming illegal. I mean, obviously, cybercrime is illegal, and now we're seeing more and more. Matter of fact, it was just released. I just published it. And go, Utah and Arizona. Those are the two states that recently just made sextortion a criminal legal statute.
All right. So I want to talk about that for a moment here. You've coined the phrase sextortion, and this, of course, is for those out there listening. What are they talking about? This is the situation where someone has sent an off-color picture to someone that they trust, a spouse, someone they're in a relationship with, and later on the relationship goes south, and then people are being extorted with these kinds of pictures. Do this or I will expose that. Am I right with this description?
Oh, you're spot on.
Yeah.
And it is not just pictures. It can be text, tweets. It can be audio. It can be visual. But essentially, it is material that is sexually themed. So one of the things for your listeners is never, ever, ever, I'll say it again, never publish, even if you're married and in love or dating or whoever, never exchange via technology sexual-themed information. No matter what anybody asks you, no matter how much you love the person, no matter how much you care or, aroused you are, never send it. Because anything that we put in cyberspace, doesn't matter the device, it is now infinite and eternal. You can delete it, but that doesn't mean it's gone. So once you share something, it is now part of the digital universe, or what I call the ocean of cyberspace. Mm-hmm. Now you end up breaking up or getting into an adversarial relationship with that intimate partner, that loved one. Well, now what they do, okay, and this walks hand in hand with sextortion, is called revenge porn. All right, revenge porn being to get back at you. I now publish in Facebook and Instagram and Google Plus and Twitter. I now publish all those intimate details that we once shared. Sextortion is along the same lines, but if I get sexually themed material, I now contact you, and this is what's awful with children, is, as I now say, is if you don't perform for me in front of this webcam, if you don't give me additional sexually themed information, I will spread the contact I have. I will send it to your parents, to your school, to your priest, to your job, and on and on and on. So essentially, sextortion is the information age form of sexual blackmail, and it's awful.
Yeah, I can't imagine a child who makes a mistake once and forever being afraid of the exposure of that mistake and being virtually a slave to the people that hold the information.
Yes, and I was, not to disclose, the help is recently I spoke to a woman, oh goodness, she is in her 50s. And she disclosed, goodness, back when she was a kid. So what are we going back into the early 80s, where she was down on spring break at one of the beaches, of her in a bikini. Now mind you, this woman is a professional and in her 50s. And her ex recently started publishing these bikini-clad images, and she had I guess they call them a G-string bikini, in different forms on a beach, which are very innocent. But the way he used them was to deprecate and subjugate her and to call her every name in the book. And for some reason, and this is one of the things, hopefully I live long enough to understand, what we see, read, hear, and watch in cyberspace, for some reason, Dan, we believe it. And I don't know why. I can't explain it. But going back to like what we talked about before, when we're dealing with fake news and disinformation and all this stuff, well, this was done in the late 1800s. It was called yellow journalism.
Right.
But now we see it on steroids. And it's really unfortunate. So with this woman, she was extorted, and what the guy wanted is for her to perform for him on webcam. And if she did not do it, he would then not only publish all these bikini-clad, shots, he would also Photoshop the shot to humiliate her and get her fired, because he threatened to send it to the job.
I can't fathom and I'm at a loss for words trying to describe how I don't understand how one human being could do that to another. And I recognize that life is a bell curve, and you and I and 99% of the people that we know live in the center of that curve and have some kind of moral compass and some kind of idea of the things that are appropriate and aren't appropriate. But there's 1% out of the end of that curve that just, that's out there. And in days before 1983, as you talk about at the beginning of the information age, it was possible to ignore those folks. But now, if one out of every 100 people is crazy like this, and they go online at a site where there's thousands of people, well, now there's hundreds of them together. And I guess...
Well, and Dan, please understand, a lot of the cyber attacks, the online abuse, the cyber harassment are not coming from crazy people, are not coming from criminals. They're coming from the guy and the gal next door that you had a tiff with last summer over your lawnmower, or because you had a falling out over whatever it may be. And yes, for some reason, and I see it as cowardly, is because I can hide behind a computer screen, because I can cloak my identity, for some reason, and this is why I study the dark side of human consciousness, for many people, and they're not all criminal psychopaths, and they're not all crazy. They're normal folks who feel it's okay to humiliate you online. And please understand, I'm not a religious man. I believe in God. Uh-huh. I love to study theology. But when I say evil, I'm saying it as what we're seeing that's going on in cyberspace.
Yeah, there's no other way to describe some of what I've seen. And you spend time trying to make people feel bad about themselves or about, I can't describe it any other way but evil. And I understand the political nonsense. I've been involved in politics for a long time, and the closer you get to Election Day, the more vicious the attacks become, because it's a zero-sum game. One person wins, one person loses. My guy wins, your guy, or your guy wins. But when the election is over, people need to get together and they need to govern and they need to get along, and it moves on. At least you hope it does. But the way that I've seen it over the last several years, it's become 24/7, 365. I think some of that has to do with the cable news networks that are 24/7, 365, that continue to feed this crap. I think they're all set up, they're all staffed for a disaster. And disasters don't happen every day. And the rest of the time, they need to fill their time with something. And this is the kind of crap that they fill it with, and it feeds these online psychopaths.
If we do not, for society, if we don't stop and think about what we're doing, and again, I love my country, but I also love my privacy. But if we don't stop, because they're talking about now is government intervention. The NSA, we can move it, but for the government to intervene and sanction the internet, I don't want that. But what's happening is people are engaging in such vitriolic, online behavior. It's getting to the point where governments may have to engage. I don't want them to, but that's what's happening. Yeah. So real quick, because we don't have too much time, and let me know if we have, I want to give a couple of tips.
Well, you know what, Doctor? We're at the 3/4 turn. So
Okay.
why don't we do that when we come back? Folks, we're on WTBQ, 1110 AM, 93.5 FM. Dan Castricone with Dr. Michael Nuccitelli. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Christine Koenig with Better Homes and Garden Rand Realty, and I love real estate. I grew up helping my dad fix up his investment properties. That knowledge and experience has fueled my passion for real estate. Licensed in New York and New Jersey, I focus my business in Orange, Sussex, and Passaic counties. Check out my website at christinekoenig.randrealty.com or listen to The Real Real Estate Show, Mondays at 10 a.m.
Orange County Tourism invites you, your family, and friends to enjoy all the amazing events throughout the county. Starting in Warwick at Silvio's Villa on 94 South for live music, great food, and Elle in the Medium. Visit silviositalianvilla.com. Ever want to create a backyard organic poultry coop and collect fresh eggs every morning? Visit midsummerfarm.com. Enjoy a traditional Irish breakfast on Sundays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Blarney Station in Warwick. Visit warwickblarney.com. Come to the Outdoor Discovery Center at Hudson Highlands Nature Museum and enjoy maple sugaring. Learn how to identify and tap sugar maple trees and discover sugaring techniques used by Native Americans, pioneers, and modern-day farmers. Visit hhnm.org for more information. Bring your children and learn how to start seeds and take home planted seeds for your spring garden at the Kasuga Education Building at Orange County Arboretum. For more information, visit orangecountyarboretum.org. To learn about all the great events and happenings throughout Orange County, visit orangetourism.org.
Turn down that radio!
If this sounds familiar, you know it's time to address your hearing loss. But custom hearing aids can cost as much as $5,000 each and are not covered by Medicare. The good news is MD Hearing Aid offers medical-grade, FDA-registered hearing aids for savings of up to 90% over traditional hearing aids. MD Hearing Aid was founded by a Chicago surgeon determined to develop a hearing aid that was technologically advanced, simple to use, and most of all, affordable. Call 1-800-515-2558. You'll speak with a trained MD Hearing Aid professional who will match you with the best hearing aid for your needs. Over 100,000 satisfied customers have already made the call. Call right now for our exclusive 45-day risk-free trial and get free shipping and a year's worth of free batteries, a $50 value. But you have to call right now. Call MD Hearing Aid at 1-800-515-2558. That's 1-800-515-2558.
Start your engine!
It's the O'Reilly Auto Parts 500.
2 Ford drivers got their foot through the firewall coming down into turn 3.
Truex works the low side of the racetrack. Across the stripe, it's a dead heat. Martin Truex Jr. to the inside.
Busch drives him way in. He's going to take the lead off of turn 4. Trouble off turn 2. It is Austin Dillon trying to save his car.
The O'Reilly Auto Parts 500. Sunday, April 9th at 12:30 p.m.
Brought to you every week by Vogler Moore Insurance and Dawson Motors.
WTBQ.
And we're back. Dan Castricone and Dr. Michael Nuccitelli here on WTBQ. And Doctor, you were about to give us some tips on how to deal with this stuff.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. The first thing is, and we learned this, we're all volunteers. It's called CANE, the acronym, Cyber Attack Investigation Network. And on a daily basis, for these wonderful folks, and if they're listening, thank you, CANE. They're all volunteers. They do it for free. But what we do is we go out, we hunt, report in times, report to the feds, local law enforcement, is we target and look for online child predators and what we call predatory trolls, people that cyber attack and abuse others. And what we've learned, and this applies for all of us, is first and foremost, okay, most cyber attacks occur due to human error, are because of our own bad choices and decision. So the first thing for all your listeners is personal information. The less personal information that you exchange and disseminate online, the lower the probability is that you will be cyber attacked. So for all the listeners, if you have 1, 2, 5, social media accounts, blogs, is to go to them and truncate the personal information down. We don't have time for me to go through some of the recent, calls that I got about people having their entire homes actually, gutted because they posted on Facebook that they were going down to the shore. Well, their Facebook on their wall was public. And they go down to the shore for 10 days, which they had announced on Facebook. They come back home, and guess what? Their house was gutted. So the less personal information you disseminate, the better. The other one, again, human error, is email attachments. Any link that you get in email, all right, that you don't know, that you've never heard of, do not click on it. That is one of the quickest way to not only have your computer and your devices, but if it's connected to a business, your entire network to be infiltrated and taken down.
Okay.
And then the last one, again, we could spend 3 shows on each, is digital citizenship. And you kind of brought it up before, is that when we engage in political discourse or we're, debate, whatever the ideology is, whether it's religion, politics, whatever it may be, is when you disagree. And I say this all the time because people are constantly disagreeing and debating with me. Instead of me getting upset and angry, forgive my name, getting pissed off, what I will write is we'll have to agree to disagree. All right, and I must have written that at least in the last 6 months, at least 300 times. We'll have to agree to disagree. All right. The other thing that I do is, in addition to agree to disagree, is that I do not become provocative. No matter how upset I am, no matter how angry I am, I don't wear, how do I say this, my emotions on my sleeve in cyberspace.
Right.
Because what they're showing is that, particularly related to trolls, is that when you kind of, and I'm not saying act like an automaton machine, but when you show your humanness, let's say you had a bad day at work or you just got in an argument with your wife, remember odor, and now you're online, if you're not careful, you will not necessarily discuss those issues. Freud called it displacement, not that I'm a Freudian, but you will act and you will exchange, communicate with others in an angry manner. So it's being mindful of that. So digital citizenship and then the basic things about personal information will significantly reduce your probability of being targeted.
Let's talk about bystanders. When you look at a Facebook page or a Twitter or whatever, and it is obviously an attack, right? It comes up in your feed as kind of the same situation where the kids are standing in the schoolyard and, the one kid with the funny hair is being abused and everyone stands around. What is the mentality of the bystander, and what can be done, if anything, to get, in my experience, bullies can't stand the, one bystander gets involved and they fold up like a cheap tent. Talk about bystanders.
Well, and again, that in and of itself, particularly as it relates to children and cyberbullying, but it applies to adults and bystanders. That's a show in and of itself. So I won't be able to fully answer what you're asking. But what would be great are bystanders is that they help and they support. But oftentimes bystanders, and they're rightfully so, not that I support it, is they won't involve themselves when they see, read, or hear of a cyber attack because first and foremost, they're afraid that if they support the person being attacked or they confront the predator, what will happen? They will be attacked. So what they do is, as bystanders, they do nothing out of fear. You know, there's this old saying, particularly as it relates to internet trolls, is don't feed the trolls, which is don't involve yourself, which is true in some situations. But I'm telling you, if a friend or online acquaintance gets targeted, I am the first one to involve myself. Okay? Because I know from personal experiences of the people that I speak to, when you are cyber attacked or your loved one is cyber attacked, is the loved ones in the systems will either say, turn it off, you're being melodramatic, you're exaggerating, delete your profile. You know, the system does not understand the psychological devastation, what it feels like to be targeted. And and this is one of the things under the subconstruct of odor, is that when you are attacked, and you're attacked mercilessly, and taunted, you feel what I call psychological isolation. You could be in Yankee Stadium and still feel psychologically isolated. People that are cyber attacked, not all, experience that, and we have to help.
Well, the one thing that I would say, and my answer, is you obviously need to make a decision on what to do. You're going to either join the fray and feed the troll, but maybe slap the troll while you're doing it, or you're going to unfriend and disengage. And I think that is the minimum. If you're part of a Facebook group, then this group starts to attack people. If the group spends any time at all making people feel bad about the way they look or the way that they, where they live or who they're with, I can't understand why anybody stays in this group. If this kind of stuff shows up on your news feed, who wants to see this stuff?
Well, they stay involved most of the times, not always. Obviously, there's a unique situation, but many of them, it's part of the group mentality that the moderator, the owner of said group and/or community, they look up to or they're seeking for something. But the reality is, and I have no problem doing, if I see you, whether you're targeting me or attacking someone else, I'll just block you.
Right.
And then if I have to, I'll report you. But I'm not going to sit here and engage in a debate with you on moral turpitude or on why you should or should not. I'll just block you.
Yeah. I mean, you have to. And I hope that people will, will at least do that. I don't think we're going to get a cure here until, someone said this to me the other day, until Mark Zuckerberg has a kid who gets cyberbullied. And the day that happens, then Facebook will be responsive.
Well, all social media platforms, including Facebook, but all social media platforms need to update and begin to address characters, all the stuff. But here in the United States, they have all lied upon, and I don't want to be fatalistic and say it's because of the almighty dollar, but think what you want, is the First Amendment, freedom of speech, free speech. So what is free speech? What is hate speech? What is character assassination? I'm confronted about that all the time. To me, and God rest my mother's soul, she had said, Michael John, if you don't have something nice to say about somebody, say nothing at all.
Say nothing, right?
It's the same thing I do in cyberspace.
Well, those are the days, and we miss them. Doctor, if that's, I certainly enjoyed the hour. I hope that the listeners have. If you're available, I'd love to have you on in the future. We can delve more into this. So thank you very much for coming on the show.
Oh, and thank you for having me on.
All right. Folks, it's Dan Castricone here. I do a show every Thursday from 12 to 1. My guest today was Dr. Michael Nuccitelli, and we talked about cyber trolls and cyber bullying, and I think it's a hot topic. We'll bring it up again in the future. All right. Till next Thursday, everybody take care. Bye-bye.